All right, guys, welcome back to the table. So I'm going to tell you right now, guys, this is probably the 15th take of this video that I've done. And I'm having some trouble with this video because I wanted to be 100% truthful about what I thought about this 48 before I take it to the range and shooting it. And I didn't want to lie to you and say, oh, it's the best Glock that's ever been made, because I don't think so. I don't think this is the best Glock that's ever been made. I think it's an interesting handgun for a lot of different reasons. A couple of days ago, I posted a video that a lot of you responded to, and I appreciate that a great deal. And I asked you guys, what did you think about this gun? And there was kind of a mixed assortment of answers to it. And again, I appreciate the answers because it's sort of where I'm at with this gun. This gun is kind of like a mixed bag for me. And what I mean by that is that I don't think it's an overwhelmingly great handgun. I don't think it's a terrible handgun. I think it's a very good, solid offering from Glock for a different reason than probably many of you will say. Now, on that video, a lot of people were talking about the one thing that I started thinking about, and that's really the 10 mag restriction. And a lot of people were saying that with the 48, the reason why it's such a great deal is because for those people who are living in a mag restricted state, you're going to have the opportunity now to own this gun with 10 rounds. But at the same time, I can do the same with this. This is my Glock 19 Gen 5. Oh wait, I can also do that with this, which is my 19X. So in essence, I don't know if I necessarily buy that that discussion. And the reason why I'm saying that isn't to become argumentative. It's just simply this. You know, the 10-round magazine in this is the same 10-round magazine, well, not physically the same, but the same amount of rounds in every gun that I own. Again, it's no smaller than a Glock 19, slightly longer than a Glock 19, thinner than a Glock 19. So then in regards to that argument of the 10-round capacity, for me, I'm not buying it. I'll be honest with you. And the reason why I say that is because, like I said, every gun I own has 10 rounds. So there really is no advantage to buying this when I can buy a full-size 17, a 19X, a Gen 5 MOS. So I don't necessarily agree with that argument. So then I had to think about why this gun. You know, if I was going to recommend this gun to you, why would I do it? Why would I sit there and say this gun is as good as any other Glock that you should buy? And I'm just adjusting my lighting, guys, so just to deal with that. But one of the things that I had to say to myself was, why would people want to buy this handgun? You know, if I'm going to give you an honest opinion about this, then I just got to be 100% honest. Again, do I think people should go out and buy the 48? I do. And it's not necessarily because of the mag restriction. I think it's a definitely desirable handgun, but for a different reason. And what it boils down to is the weight. The weight is a huge bonus. Now, when you look at these on paper, side by side, there's not a significant difference in the width. There's not even a significant difference in the grips or the slide width or anything. The slide length is almost identical. Again, the 48 has a slightly longer slide there, but not by much. The width of the slide, I think this is a 1-inch slide and this is like a 0.8-inch slide. So even the width of the slides aren't that significant. The overall width isn't even that significant. I think the Glock is 1.3, and I'm pretty sure that the 48 is like 1.1 or something like that. So you're not even looking at significant differences between the two in regards to width, length, or overall size. But where I think this actually has a point or a purpose to it is the weight of the handgun. Again, on paper, it's not going to look like a significant difference in weight, but a Glock 19 unloaded is 14 ounces. Or 14 ounces, you wish. It's 24 ounces unloaded. And, you know, for some people that might be a considerably heavy gun. Again, is it that heavy? It's really not. There are a lot of guns out there that are much heavier than this that people carry every day. But for people who wanted something that was about this size, because again, I've always said the Glock 19 to me is like the perfect carry size gun. I think it's easy to conceal. I think you can use it all day long at the range. I think it provides a good amount of grip so that you can actually control your gun a lot better. And I think where this one begins to outshine it is just for the simple fact of its size and its weight. On paper, it doesn't look different, but as soon as you get it in your hand, you're going to notice a significant difference. You're going to feel that you can crush this gun. A lot of people complain that the Glock 19 is a very boxy gun, which, you know, guys, let's be honest. In all honesty, the Glock 19 is really a boxy gun. I totally agree with that. But what you're going to notice, though, is that as soon as you get this 48 in your hand, that boxiness kind of goes away. Now, does it go away significantly where you're going to say, oh my God, this is like carrying a micro gun? It's not. It's not meant to be that. It's meant to be kind of a more concealable, maybe, but more comfortable carry option than a full 19. Now, with that, that's where this gun begins to shine. That's why I say this is a mixed bag. There are some things about this gun that I don't like, but there's also a purpose for this gun, at least in my opinion. And that purpose is to make sure that you have a gun that has got a nice size grip on it, a good enough length on its radius for its slide, and the controllability factor, and making sure those shots are on target. Now, a lot of people say they can shoot the 26 better, or they can shoot a smaller gun better. That might be the case. Again, this is just my initial impression video. This is what I'm thinking as soon as I get this gun home and I'm starting to play around with it. And after listening to what some of you guys were saying, I wanted to kind of digest that and actually see what I thought. Now, there are some features about this gun that I think are slightly negatives, some things that are slightly good. Obviously, the coating is that MPVD coating. A lot of people didn't like the silver color, but I'm going to tell you right now that it's really not silver. It reminds me more of like a white nitride color. And, it's not really silver. It doesn't reflect the light all that much. It's kind of got a flat finish to it, and it's also got almost like a textured finish. So your hands aren't going to slide, So I think that's a good feature of this handgun. One of the downsides that I found about this gun was actually the lower portion of the gun. And what I mean by that is I'm not really a big fan of the way this magazine mates with the lower. And the reason why I say that is because this sticks out just a little bit too much. I think if they would have cut this down, and again, I don't know if they could do that because of the 10-round capacity, but I think if they would have slimmed this down a little bit more, it would have made it even more concealable. I think just having that space in between the magazine base plate and the lower I really think they could have cut that down. As a matter of fact, if you remove the magazine, you'll notice where my pinky extends to. It's right at the bottom. But as soon as you put the magazine into place, you're going to notice now you almost have a position for one more finger. So you can actually wrap your pinky. So for me, I think in order to conceal a little bit better, they should have slimmed this down a little bit. But again, that's just me. That doesn't mean this is a non-doable gun. It just means for me, I would like to have seen this being a little bit thinner out. The texture on the grip or lack thereof, I think might be a downfall. Again, it's not very aggressive, which might be good for all-day carry. And again, I think that's where this gun shines. So you don't necessarily need to have that super aggressive, let me peel your skin off type of texture. Instead, it gives you just enough where you're going to have some bite to it. And more importantly, because the gun is so thin, that grip shouldn't be going anywhere because you should be clamping down on that gun like you want to destroy it. And I think that's where that actually kind of, I guess negates itself. In regards to the trigger, not a fan. The Gen 5 MOS, I think, had a great trigger in it out of the box. The 19X had a great trigger out of the box. But for whatever reason, this trigger feels kind of almost like a toy trigger. What I mean by that is in regards to the trigger, it just feels really plasticky. Almost feels like there's plastic parts moving on plastic parts. Obviously, it is a polymer trigger, but it just doesn't feel very good. Now, again, I haven't shot it. It's just my initial impression. That may change tomorrow. I'm not planning on changing this trigger out until after I shoot it. I'm going to be putting this Apex trigger in there, but I want to shoot it standard or stock to get a good feel for that. Now, one of the things I did notice about it was the reason why I don't like this trigger is the trigger safety. It still does not recess fully into the shoe. It does it slightly, but then you can actually feel the ridges of the shoe or the trigger safety with the other ridges on the trigger shoe. So that's big no-no for me. Again, doesn't mean you can't buy the gun and not leave it as is. It's just something that I'm noticing on my initial impression. The take up of the trigger, very standard, feels like every other Glock that I've ever shot. So right there's your take up and a nice clean break, no movement. Here's your reset. And there's your reset. So it's fairly short. And then the take up after that is very good as well. So again, very standard trigger for Glock. I mean, that's not going to blow you out of the water either. The stock sights on these are your field goal sights. Not horrible, but not great. So I did get Ameriglow i.pros. They're coming. I just bought them yesterday, so they should be here this week coming up. So, I mean, it's kind of, like I said, a mixed bag. My initial impression of this gun right now is that I think it is a solid offering from the simple standpoint, not because of the mag capacity, but because of the reduced weight, the reduced size of it. The ability to carry this gun comfortably all day long, I think, is going to be a major factor for a lot of people deciding to go with this. Now, some may say, well, why not the 43X? Some people are saying like the 43X better. After holding the 43X, it reminded me a lot of the 19X, that longer grip with the shorter slide. But and it felt really balanced, but I was more comfortable knowing that I was going to have the longer slide with this, plus a full-size grip, or at least a close to a full-size grip, and making sure that I can clamp down on that gun really well without having any issues. So takedown, very typical again of a Glock. Again, you're going to just have the tabs on the sides, push the slide forward. Everything is, very, very typical. You've got your 43 guide rod and recoil spring here. You've got your plunger here, which is the new one for the Gen 5s. So that's kind of interesting. So they kept kind of some of the old stuff with the new stuff, which is kind of cool. Again, you have this little, almost like this extended piece here, which would have been an adapter. This is the ability to make sure that the slide is long enough and still able to connect to a 43X frame. So I think that's kind of cool that they did that. One of the things that I also noticed about the polymer on this is that the polymer feels a little bit thin. And it could just be me, but I definitely noticed that there is some flex in the polymer. And that's going to be interesting to see what happens when this gun heats up and how it handles, a couple of hundred rounds at the range. So once I take that to the range, I'm going to see what happens here, if there's any expansion, if there's any kind of warping or anything like that. I would suspect there won't be, and at least I hope not. But that's something I'm going to look at once I bring it home from the range and shoot it, or shoot it at the range and bring it home. Again, putting it back on the slide or on the frame is not that bad. It's, again, very typical. One of the other things that I do like the fact is that it does have that extended beaver tail here. I do wish Glock would actually go to doing this. Extend that beaver tail a little bit further, just slightly further out, especially for people with meaty hands, so you don't have to worry about the slide bite factor. Instead of, having these adapters on here, I would like to see Glock at some point go to the idea of just making it in the polymer itself. Overall, I think there's a lot to offer with this gun. I think it's a good, solid offering. And I think if you're really into carrying a Glock 19, but are kind of put off by the blockiness and the weight of it, then I think this is the natural change. And the reason why I say that is because as soon as you put it in your hand, while it may not feel as ergonomic as some of the other guns on the market, you're going to notice right away that this is much more comfortable in your hand over time than this 19 is. I mean, the 19 is a thick gun, and this reduces that, but gives you the same size just about. Maybe not necessarily capacity, but at the same time, 10 rounds in a Glock 19 sized handgun that is slim enough to really have good control over and, more importantly, carry all day long. That's where this gun shines. So again, I'd love to hear what you have to say. Do you agree with the fact that maybe this isn't the it gun from Glock, but at the same time has a good purpose? And if so, what is that purpose? Why would you get this gun? And why did you get this gun? Guys, I'm always grateful that you guys watch these videos. Always grateful you leave really good comments. Hope you have a great day. Again, the gun's going to go to the range, and I'm going to shoot it, make a follow-up video of it at that point, and go from there. So I hope you guys have a great day. Stay safe, and as always, freedom is never free.